panels of the door. "The gentlemen are here, Mrs. Alison, ma'am," she said hoarsely. Alison stood stiffly, as if at attention. "Do ask them to come in, Mrs. Davenport," she said quietly, and from the musical cadences of her voice no one would have guessed that at that particular moment she felt as if the whole of her future was in the melting pot. And her anxiety was so great that it clouded her brain and rendered her incapable of anything really inspired. Mrs. Davenport withdrew in order to allow the gentleman to pass her in the narrow oak doorway. There was a coat of arms above it, let into the panelled wall, and it was the coat of arms of the Leydens. The present incumbent, as it were, was tall, dark, and impeccably dressed. He did not look as if he had spent any part of his life in a cattle-raising country, but he did look much as his forebear at the time of the Regency, judging by his portrait in the main gallery, must have looked. His features were faintly aquiline, and he had an excellent brow and beautifully marked eyebrows. In place of sideboards, there was nothing but a smooth-shaven appearance, and whoever barbered him did the job lovingly. His tailor, just as plainly, loved fitting him out with casually cut clothes that were nevertheless faultless. And on this occasion his old Etonian tie was knotted perfectly. Alison was a little surprised to discover that he wore an old Etonian tie. Like Lorna, she had imagined him wearing a slightly tougher appearance. That is to say, physically tougher. For in this thin-lipped face there was a degree of toughness that alarmed her, and in his colourless eyes, ice-blue eyes, she thought of them for ever afterwards. There was nothing but a disinterested coldness. He had a way of looking about him, from the very first moment that he entered the room, alertly, critically, and without pleasure, not even noticing her until the elderly solicitor, who was feeling distinctly uncomfortable on this occasion, drew his attention to her. He coughed behind his hand and said, smiling wryly at Alison,
"This is Mr. Leyden, Mrs. Fairley. Mr. Leyden, allow me to introduce Mrs. Alison Fairley. She has been a remarkably excellent caretaker since Leyden Hall came into her scope of things." "Really?"
Charles Leyden held out his hand, but it was a purely perfunctory gesture, grasping her fingers for an instant and letting them go. But before he let them go, he took in every detail of her appearance. She was sure of that. Without insolence, without interest, without any expression whatsoever, he took in the pale curves of the delicately featured face, the grey eyes, the soft silken hair, the resolute little chin, the rounded throat that looked more rounded and pliable because she was wearing a neat white collar and a navy blue dress.
"You don't mind if I have a look around, Mrs. Fairley?"
"Of course not," she replied. She added awkwardly, It's your house now, isn't it?"
"I believe it is."
For an instant, the colourless eyes expressed surprise. Then for the first time they appeared to notice the girls, Alison's trio of stepdaughters. As a trio, they had a very, very great deal to commend them. Marianne, who was only a few years younger than Alison, was a startling beauty, with corn gold hair, china blue eyes, and exquisite skin. Jessamy, who was the studious one, was dark and dreamy in her appearance, and walked with a limp because she had had polio when she was young. The limp was noticeable and extremely painful to her, and to everyone who knew her and thought a lot of her. But to Alison it was particularly painful. She loved Jessamy as if she was her own daughter. Her main idea in life was to protect Jessamy. Lorna, who was only 15, was the plainest of the three girls, but she had an engaging smile and a freckle on the tip of her nose that drew attention to its shapeliness. She was not pleased by what she saw when the new owner walked in, and because that was the way she reacted, her smile vanished.